The Bible gives parents the right and duty to whoop their own child. Corporal punishment is strongly recommended in the Hebrew scriptures. A lot of Christians interpret these passages in different ways, but most religious conservatives generally believe that the book of Proverbs was assembled by King Solomon. He brought together a group of sayings. Some of them might have been his own thoughts, and others might have been first written centuries before him. But the passages that deal with spanking presumably reflect his parenting beliefs with respects to his son Rehoboam. The Bible subsequently records the negative effects that this parenting style had on his son. Rehoboam became a wildly hated ruler after his father's death, and at one point he had to escape to Jerusalem to avoid being assassinated by his own people. Spare the rod and spoil the child. This is often incorrectly attributed to the Christian Bible because it ain't in there. It was actually first written in a poem by Samuel Butler in 1664. What does appear among others is Proverbs chapter 13 verse 24. He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him. And Proverbs chapter 25 verse 15. Foolishness is burned in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. The term physical correction is a term often used by parents and others who believe it's their biblical duty to punish their children by using corporal punishment. Correction is from the Hebrew word mukal and means chastening or come let's reason together. Reasoning together has nothing to do with physically striking a child, but it's your right as a parent to discipline your children as you see fit. In the past, slave owners said it was their right to beat their slave. Police and courts have said it's their right to beat their prisoners. Some husbands have said it's their right to beat their wives. And some parents say it's their right to beat their own children. Hey, I'm just a messenger. The use of physical punishment as a method of maintaining control was introduced to African states through colonialism. It was entrenched in some African laws during the colonial era and was deliberately used to strengthen the system. All corporal punishment is not necessarily abuse. There's a big difference between loving correction, reasonable corporal punishment, and child abuse. In some cases, a backhand may stop the behavior immediately, but it doesn't necessarily stop a hard-headed child from doing the same thing in the future. This is because they are less likely to learn from this punishment and more likely to resist the parents and find ways to avoid getting caught in the future. That's why some children are always in trouble and get regular whippings. Sometimes corporal punishment can be ineffective in teaching self-discipline and responsibility because it tends to escalate over time and small slaps become more like a combination of a right cross and a left uppercut. Parents charged with assault often say they were disciplining their children. Many of the beatings that children suffer in the hands of adults would be completely unacceptable if committed against an adult. Children welfare organizations estimate that 80 to 90% of physical abuse cases are committed in the name of corporal punishment. Soon, children are going to be able to just run to the police for every little love tap. We're going to clog up the courts with children who do not need the court's attention, and the children who are really being abused going to slip through the cracks. The focus of law reform should be on prevention and early intervention to protect the children and not on prosecuting the parents unless the assault is particularly violent. The prosecution of parents is seldom in the best interest of the child. It is important for the system to be available for family to receive support and diversion to parenting program so we can achieve all of this. Children are hid in the name of discipline in every corner of the world, and no culture has the right to claim it as its own. Africans themselves has questioned this idea that corporal punishment is part of African culture. For example, Jean-Baptiste Zangrana, chairperson on the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of Children, said, "Not much has been done to end corporal punishment administered to children by their families in their home, where violence seems to be culturally accepted. In fact, thousands of homes have become real laboratories of violence against children, and the media have reported this in many cases." The fact still remains that some children don't learn anything unless you go upside their head. I was hit as a child, and today I'm a better person for it, and I turned out okay. Until next time, y'all stay blessed.